Yes, good morning, good night to any of you. Again, we have our social medias that you can follow. That's where you can see our trending news or what's happening with our various projects, whether that be GeoDNet or Rover. And then also, again, we have the Q&A feature in which at any point you can ask a question, and then if it fits within that segment, we'll go ahead and take that question. All right, without further ado, we have myself, we have Gary, and Mike, our respective CEOs of the various projects. If we can get a little wave to them, that'd be great. Nice, nice. Okay, here we are. So we're going to start off with our company updates, in which we have our one major one, in which that's on the rover side. We have 5 Tarantula X giveaways going on. You can find more information about that on our X or our Twitter account if you would like. Remember, there are 5 chances to win. That giveaway ends on 11:30, the end of this month, right at midnight PST. If you'd like to enter, would be more than happy to have you. All right. And then we'll get straight. Oh, words are hard right now. We'll dive straight into it with our hot tech news and then save a bunch of time for our staking questions, as that's our major thing we've seen within our community that they want to talk about. So the first one we'd like to talk about is the generative AI world model. And this is by World Labs. And for all of you that don't know too much about it, I'll give a little bit of background before we dive into it. This is created by Fei Li, which is a head or pioneer in the world of AI, especially generative AI. And the way it works is that you can upload a photo or give it a prompt or give it a video, and that will create a 3D world map or world model for you to kind of train on. And the implications for this are for video game design starting off, right? You can go into the world, you can edit it, you can change it, and you can also interact with it. From there, we also see a further implication for robotics, AI, and autonomous vehicle, especially for training. I made a post on this about LinkedIn. If you'd like to see it, it is on the Rover Network LinkedIn page. We reposted it there. I would be happy to have you. And so, without further ado, let's go ahead and dive into our guests. Gary, Mike, we know that you've experimented a little bit with it yesterday. What are your thoughts on it? Let's start there.
Well, yeah, I thought, first of all, the image that you uploaded where you were at the Amazon Web Services event, you took a single picture and turned it into a room that really looked like exactly like you were there. So from a single photo, it was able to sort of recreate a world, a 3D world that feels super immersive. So, I mean, that is kind of a stunning capability. I tried a different approach. I took a different type of image, an image that had both physical things and um, kind of some, kind of some textual content in it, and it did an amazing job of interpreting the image and giving a whole lot of kind of feedback as to what's there and what's in the image, and really a deeper meaning, like what it all represented. And I was quite impressed with that. So I think those two demos definitely show the potential of this, and especially the potential of it when you connect it with something like the rover data collection, which has so much of the world already captured. It's going to, I think, be pretty interesting things you can do with this tech.
hmm I think one of my favorite ones when I try and extrapolate or think about it more, and again, I don't think I mentioned it yet. This model by World Labs is called Marble. And so when we say marble or someone mentions marble, that's what we're talking about. And so one of the implications of using this is the possibility to train AI, robotics, and autonomous vehicles, right? You can put them inside your world model simulation, similar to what Mike has stated. And in that processing time, they can train themselves within a matter of seconds or a matter of minutes, rather than in the physical world, you would have to set up that scenario or that control room and do that over and over again. And that setup process alone can take 30 minutes, an hour, right? Depending on how many scenarios you want to run, and you have to multiply that. Gary, what are your thoughts on Marble and what World Labs is doing?
I think this model, Marble, and we can call it the water model. Yeah, so it's a kind of the model water model, and also the spatial intelligence and Feifei mentioned Yeah. I think it's a big deal. Yeah, because we think the large language models like ChatGPT and Gemini or Sora, I think it's AI 1.0, and I would like to call this Marble is it's a AI 2.0, because the language
Mm.
models just for humans, and the language is just for humans, and the large language models for built for talking to people. But this one is a spatial AI, spatial intelligence, and it's for machine, and it's used for machine
Mm.
to understand the world around them. So I think it's what the Professor Feifei is working on right now, and also Rower us actually doing the same thing. We are also building the AI 2.0, helping machines to understand the 3D environment. Of course, we are focused on the data set, and the Marble focus on the algorithm. But we all building the world models. Yeah,
Yeah, we're all contributing greatly. And I
yeah,
think
yeah.
there was a quotation that I read in one of the articles. Let me see if I can remember it off the top of my head. It says,
Mm.
if large language models can teach machines to read and write,
Yeah.
Marble or 3D world models similar to it can teach them to see and build, right? And I think that was a great way to summarize that.
Mm. Mm.
Yeah.
Yeah, that is pretty cool. I also like it when Fei Fei Li talks about how language itself is a synthetic data product, right? We've created
Hmm.
language. We have English, we have Chinese, we have Russian, German, French, all these different things that we've created from our own kind of AI, our own experience dealing with the world. We learn to communicate, the Rosetta Stone, all the stuff.
Hmm.
But really, we learned from the physical world,
Mm.
right? Somehow we, as humans, evolved from the physical world. So the world
Mm.
model, taking in physical data products like images and LiDAR scans, is a more basic input to creating, I think, foundational AI. And thought that was a really interesting take that she had on that. And I'm just super excited to see where Marble goes and how we can potentially use it, and then how we can potentially learn from it to enhance our data flows and data products.
Yeah, very exciting technology. And again, this product came out earlier this week, if not just a few days ago. So if you're not too aware of it in our community, we're making you aware of it. And this is what these AMAs are for. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get into Waymo dataset versus the Rover dataset, right? This is released on I believe, an annual basis in which they do challenges for it. And you can see the
Mm.
comparison of Waymo on the left, Rover in the middle, and then our advantages on the right. Let's go ahead and
Mm.
talk a little bit about these. What stands out to you? Let's go ahead and go with Gary first.
Yeah, I think the Vimo open dataset has been around for a long time, several years, and I think almost every engineer who worked in autonomous driving has used it.
Hmm.
It's a classic, and with data collected many years ago, and you can find a very old LiDAR model in it. But I think rover data is very new, and we update much higher frequency, and that's one big differences. And of course, you can see other differences listed here. Rover has a bigger coverage and much more clips, new sensors. For example, the Waymo open data sets, they use the mechanical lidar, and but our sensor is state-of-art lidar, and also we use the new open data format. Of course, we are Web3 ecosystem, and much
Mm-hmm.
more flexible license, which is CCBY, and both support the commercial and academic use. Yeah, so we have many difference. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Okay, nice. And Mike?
I would echo the same things around just kind of the scope, the geographic coverage, and a commercial bend. I think Waymo is
Mm.
wanting to advance the state of the art of research. That's their goal, so that the entire, I think, platform and algorithms of autonomous driving at a research level get advanced because it's a very difficult technical problem. And if those academics come up with new algorithms and publish it, Waymo in turn benefits it. So there's a little flywheel there that they're creating around their data set to advance kind of the state of the art and development. Rover's mission includes that, but it's, I think, certainly more focused on helping people and democratizing the development of robotics and autonomous systems and making it so that a company that, say, has raised 20, $50 million from venture capital that wants to get into the field of autonomous systems with a new breakthrough in sensors or algorithms or application, whatever it may be, can have access to a data set to train on and to use without being Waymo, without having to, go out and build cars and find a place to park them. I mean, here in Silicon Valley, if you want to get started in the field of autonomy, the first thing you do after you raise your Series A and give away a bunch of your company is you go buy cars and outfit them with $500,000 of equipment. And then, unfortunately, in Silicon Valley, you got to find a place to park them, which isn't easy. Not that many buildings have garages, and typically people don't want to have that car sort of parked at an employee's home. It's a complicated structure for that to work, insurance considerations and things. So you end
Mhm.
up, renting space that has some kind of uh, parking capability, indoor parking capability. You don't want to park these things outside, they'll get stolen. So all of a sudden, before you've collected your first HD map scan to start working on to build your autonomous system, you've got a run rate of $500,000 a year in expenses, and probably spend $1 million or so outfitting a couple of vehicles. So it's really difficult, and it makes the barrier to get started in autonomy very, very high for smaller companies, startups, that ecosystem. So I think the the flexibility of the licensing terms of the Rover Open Data Set, and the commercial orientation and the geographic coverage and our ability to support both large companies but also startup companies is something quite unique in the marketplace and quite exciting.
Yeah, that is super exciting when you put it that way. I didn't even factor in the operational costs. But I do want to focus in on one point that you mentioned of increased research and the research capabilities that are given by the various data sets. And I know that Waymo comes out with an annual competition, I believe, for their data set. Can we talk about what we plan to do with ours at Rover? Gary, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, I think we don't really need to use their data because in my opinion, their data is sort of old. But I like the idea, the challenge they run. It remind me the DAPA, the DAPA challenge back in the 2005,
Hmm.
2007, which basically kick off the self-driving cars and the Waymo, the Google self-driving car, actually come out of the DAPA challenge. So yes, a challenge is a great idea, and maybe us rover could do something similar. Set some goals or problems, like a perception of the special vehicles, for example, recognizing the school bus, which is actually a weak point of the Waymo. So we could team up with some partners, for example, for some data customers to provide the data. Rover open, we can provide the data, the Rover open data set, and offer token rewards or let the people submit their algorithms or models and in the end we judge and pick the winner with the prizes. So I think it's a good way to promote the Rover open data set and get the community involved. And yeah, I think it's a good idea, and yeah, maybe we can do that.
Yeah, Mike, anything you want to add to that?
Yeah, I think it's the DARPA Grand Challenge that Gary mentioned is the kind of OG project that kicked off a lot of the autonomous car work. And that was a challenge to basically navigate through the desert with the vehicle completely autonomously.
Mm,
It sounds really easy now, I think, because there's hundreds of groups that could do it, maybe thousands of groups that could do that very
mm,
easily today. But back when that challenge was done, it was super cutting edge, and the
mm,
sensors and the tech to do it were really uh, brand new, and it kicked off the whole autonomous car effort. And it's kind of fun to think about that thing because you look back and you realize how far the whole industry has come from the DARPA Grand Challenge.
yeah, we've
Challenges are
come so
cool.
far.
yeah,
Indeed. Indeed.
yeah.
Okay, and that is our rover dataset versus the Waymo dataset. And without further ado, let's go ahead and jump in to the staking model, right? We mentioned and kicked this off last week. We threw it to our community for feedback and questions. Overall, it seems like it's very positive feedback. And there are three main questions that really stuck out to me when I was browsing through our social media, especially through our Discord channels, right? So let's go with the first question, and that is, what happens in case of an unforeseen accident with the LC or the light cone? Say a road accident with another vehicle or a rock chipping the glass. How will Rover decide what is personal liability and what allows a replacement? Who would like to take that one on first?
Yeah, I will take this question.
Hmm.
Yeah. So I think in case like that, if it's not a quality issue, sorry to say that, but we won't cover the repair or shipping cost because it's not the quality issue. But I think this is the pretty standard in the industry. We are not doing anything unusual here. But we won't charge much for repairs from the accident damage. Basically, just the cost of the components and the parts for replacement. So and of course the very minimal labor fee. So don't worry, the repairing fee is not very high. Yeah, but the list is not just limited to the not because of the quality issue. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I think one idea we
Um,
could publish a list of standard repairs. It is a repairable unit. It's
mm,
certainly something
mm,
that is uh,
mm,
and it's not like your iPhone that's quasi unrepairable. It's quite repairable. The major subsystems can be replaced. And I do think the
mm,
most likely thing would be some damage to, just as the question came up, some damage to the LiDAR lens or somehow
mm,
the camera. I think it's pretty remote, but as they say, things happen. So indeed, maybe the best way to is to have a kind of transparent standard repair cost and publish that up ahead so people know. And hopefully no one gets into a bad accident. That's not
mm.
let's hope that doesn't happen.
Yeah,
Yeah.
hopefully, knock on wood, right? And then a follow-up question that they were really asking me to ask you all is
Mm.
that will Rover offer some sort of insurance that we can buy, like Apple Care, to cover what is pretty expensive for the device? Say some set fee per month by the user. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I think it is a good idea. It's a like kind of the Apple screen protection the
Hmm.
plan, right? Yeah, yeah, I think we will definitely look into it seriously, and I think it's a great suggestion. And the last question, I think the our community really care about is the how long if they damage the LC, how long they will get the new LC back, and how much money they will spend for repairing the LC. So so anyway, I think it's a good suggestion. If we can provide this kind of the protection plan, yeah, we
I
will
think it's a
look
bit
into.
overkill, Gary. My thought is this shouldn't be too often. It seems maybe I don't know. I'm not one of these people that buys tons and tons of insurance because I sometimes feel like insurance is a bit of a
Yeah.
scam for a lack of a better word at times. But obviously some insurance is needed. But I just, gosh,
Yeah.
I would hope, the repair costs are pretty reasonable. Another thing I think
Yeah.
we can try to do is make sure we have some
Mm.
stock and some repair center capability at multiple locations throughout the world, so these things aren't having to transit the entire globe and take the most difficult route
Mm.
possible to get turned around. So that's something in general. GeoDNet's looking at more and more is how to, with all the tariffs and everybody kind of going to these protectionist models, the hardware element of these deepins just gets harder and harder by the day.
Yeah.
Currently, our costs for shipping, our costs for tariffs, we haven't, we've tried to make sure everything stays as copacetic as possible, but the environment over the 2.5 years or so that I've been involved has gotten markedly more difficult and worse. So I think that's maybe the best thing. Try to have this stuff kind of pre-positioned globally so that it's easy and the least work for the
Yeah.
host and get people back on the road as fast as possible.
Yeah. Yeah. That's right. Yeah.
Nice. Okay. Yeah, it
Mm.
looks like we have some deep diving to do as a team. And the next question is shipping to China or anywhere in the world internationally is complicated and expensive. What local support will
Mm.
be made available for returns? And that, yeah, so let's start with that one.
Yeah. Of course. Please allow me to to say something long term.
Hmm.
Our plan it's the modular design and decentralized production. But that means the Litecoin and the tarantula device no need to make in China in the future, not now. And on the opposite, the very small factory around the world,
Mhm.
even garages could produce Litecoin and TX hardware. That's our goal, long-term
Yeah.
goal. And but in the short term, yeah, as Mike mentioned, I think we do have some plan, and we building the transit warehouse
Mhm.
or some temporary place in the US and Europe, so we can better serve our community and the contributors, and not just for faster shipping, but also if the hardware breaks, repairs or replacement can happen quickly. Yeah,
Totally agree with that. And the
yeah,
GeoDNet has encouraged production in the US. That's now happening. There'll be some posts
mm,
about that coming out in the next week or two. The first
mm,
high-fix miners that have been produced in the US have started to ship. So that's a big milestone we haven't talked about yet into the community, but they are actually, there's many of them out in the field, and we have some video and news coming out on that in the near term. And keeping these devices modular, simple, and
mm,
over time using as much locally sourced components as possible is a way to
yeah,
combat that, and it's necessary. I did a short video on it as well a while back, but I think the decentralization has to apply to hardware as well, as this stuff doesn't seem, in my view, is not going to get better
mm,
anytime soon. Maybe quite some time before
mm,
kind of we get back to pre-COVID trade policies, maybe never. I don't know, but
mm,
decentralization is a good cure for that.
yeah, yeah, and the
Hmm.
modular design, something like
Modular
that.
design, yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
Hmm. Okay. And then we have one more question from the general community, and then we'll move to questions that we're receiving here and now. Again, if you have any questions, feel free to use the Q&A feature, type that in. And then that question we have right now from the community is, what happens if one stakes, receives the device, and decides not to participate in collecting data?
Oh, I think it's a very good question. And actually, the Litecoin LC have two versions, the Web 2 version and the Web 3 version. And the Web 2 version of Litecoin doesn't require staking any tokens. You just buy it, and it might be a little bit more expensive. I think it's roughly $3,500 right now. But the users get full access to the data. No, but no token reward. So that's the Web 2 version, and the Web 3 version on the opposite requires staking, and the users must upload the data and receive token rewards. I think it's fair because the ROVR Foundation provided token rewards, so it makes sense to get the data in return, right? Um, but if the user both stakes tokens and want to access their data, collect by themselves, I think they can contact the ROVR team, and the data need to be purchased at market price. So even if it was collected by themselves, because they received token rewards for it, so they need to buy it. Yeah. So two ways, the Web2 versus LC and or Web3 LC, but buy the data. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that was a great explanation, Gary. I would just add that,
Yeah.
yeah, if somebody gets it and decides, they want to turn around and not drive with it for whatever reason, then they can return the device and get their stake back if they do it at the very beginning of the lease. There's a grace period. Then after that, if it's been sitting around for 6 months, there is going to be a deduction from the stake, a slashing of the stake for inactive devices. That if the device is inactive at all during the month, that's an asset of the network, essentially. As we talked about kind of last time, this is potentially going to be able to bring network assets, i.e., the fleet of light cones on chain, which is pretty interesting. But it's not being utilized. It's not doing the job for the network that it's supposed to do. So my thought would be if you get into it and you realize it doesn't fit in your car, or whatever your driving pattern changes and you're no longer driving every day, and you don't think it's going to earn rewards for you, just return it as soon as you can, and then you'll avoid any slashing. But we want to keep these devices active and working for the network. Asset utilization is a very important thing, and so that's the goal of this whole program, is to not create oversupply and to have the assets of the network operating very efficiently to create value for the network and in turn value for the rover token and the geo token too, through
Mhm.
the RTK network portion.
Nice. Yep. And those were our community questions. And now we'll move straight into our community questions that we have here, right? We have some great questions from Justin that we can hit. And then again, if any other questions do come up, feel free to leave those in the chat for us to answer. Either Mike, Gary, or myself will take a stab at it. So the first question from Justin is, besides using your products and perhaps posting about them on social media, how else can those who want to help both companies succeed support both projects in any additional way?
Well, that's probably a real good start. I think, spread the word to friends and family. For GeoDNet right now, rural locations are king in the United States, and I've been spreading the word uh, through a network of ranchers and farmers, from our customers and from other sources, to find more and more rural locations. But that's the key. I think word of mouth works. Very, very proven marketing technique. And so what you're doing is already amazing, Justin.
Yeah. Gary, anything you want to add?
Oh no, I think it's Max explained very well. Yeah.
Yeah, I think word of mouth
Mm.
is great. Creating content, finding other leads, and then sharing it. Everything you've been doing, Justin, we really appreciate it. And it does not go unseen. Great. And then the next
Yeah.
question, also from Justin, is would there ever be any utility or another source of revenue for your projects to collect terrestrial LiDAR of random
Mm.
points on Earth and or in buildings separate from on the road?
Oh, yes.
Yeah. Yes.
All right, it seems like both of you are excited for it. Let's go with Gary first, and then we'll go to Mike.
Okay. Yeah. Actually, we got some several the POC contract and at least one general sales contracts with our customers. And also next week, I think we will have three very important meeting with our data customers. And the terrestrial lidar data is very important for you know our main customer is the AI company. They're using our data for the AI model training for the autonomous driving and robotics. And the lidar data is essential for the verification of the depth information, because the lidar is the only sensor can provide the depth information. I mean the 3D information. So this information is very important and need to be verified their AI models. So that's why many countries need our and many companies they need our data. Yeah.
Yeah,
And
I
then
think
Mike.
just kind of adding on to the in building indoor things, there are a lot of things to think about there in terms of how to structure it as a deep end to make sure it's safe and sane from a privacy point of view and all that. But absolutely, both GeoDNet and Rover have things going on towards kind of the indoor world. From the GeoDNet side, there's some incredible new assets going up in space that are going to help with this that we talked a little bit about in the GeoDNet journal. I don't think it's probably a longer topic than we have time for in this AMA, but suffice it to say, indoor environments are equally going to be inhabited by robots just as much as outdoor environments. And I think that is on our definitely working in progress. Look at, and I'd also highlight, give a shout out to other super cool projects in the community like Alki, who's doing a lot on the VPS, and there's a lot of intersections there too. So it's really an important element. From the GeoDNet side, again, new signals will be around that we think are super, super, super interesting. And LiDAR, as Gary said, is the ultimate ground truth for depth. So whether you use a LiDAR or not on the vehicle, you want to have LiDAR in your training data because it's kind of acting as a source of truth for depth. So if you're thinking about, hey, if I want to have an inference about how far away an obstacle is. Let's just take a simple example like robotic lawnmowers. I want to have an inference about how far away a boundary is or how far away a soccer ball is in the yard. I'd like to mow as close to that soccer ball as I can, but I don't really want to hit it, right? So to do that, I'd probably like to just use a super cheap camera because a LiDAR is expensive relative to a super cheap camera. I need to have a model from a single camera that can give me good depth called monocular depth estimation. Well, that's very doable, but the accuracy of it can be pretty poor unless you've got a really good model and inference engine around it. Well, how do you create that? How do you train that? You'd like to have lots of data to train it, and you like to have that data to be, labeled well. Well, labeling in this case with depth, the way to get that accurate data to train with depth is LiDAR. It is millimeter accurate. It is the gold standard. You see it when you go out on a construction job site, you see a guy with a thing that looks like kind of like a scope. I mean, that is a early days LiDAR. It's called a total station, and it is used to make millimeter accurate distance measurements, which are needed in construction. This is the gold standard for distance and depth. And so having that in the training data is so valuable. And that applies just as
Yeah,
well
exactly.
indoors as outdoors. It is independent of work indoors or outdoors. You would like to have data sets with very good depth information to train on.
Yeah,
Nice. All
exactly.
right.
Yeah.
Thank you for sharing. And I do want to be respectful of our time, Mike and Gary. Do you want to take more questions? Are
If
there
there are
any
any
questions
last
there?
questions, yeah, let's do it.
All right, let's do it. All right, the next question is from 5 Mile Trucker. Can you create a suction mount? I have some Tesla drivers that want these but are not comfortable with the current mount.
This is for the light cone, I assume, right?
Yes, the
Yeah.
light cone.
That might be risky. It could be, we could, I guess there's some big suction cup mounts, right, Gary? I see some of these guys that do, the traditional road scanning. They do have suction cup mounts. I guess it's possible. What do you think?
Yeah, yeah, it's possible. But we are using the magnet currently because we are doing a lot of test, and even we do the wind tuner. So, but the section, there are so many types of section on the market, and we don't know it's a safe or not.
Well, I think if
So
you get a big enough one, I mean,
yeah.
we could look at like what Rock Robotic uses. I think they have a suction cup mount, goes with their
Hmm.
LiDAR scanner, one of our customers,
Hmm.
and is big. I think if you get one of these big suction cup mounts that's relatively, I mean, by big, I mean maybe, it's a triangle with each side of the triangle being
Hmm.
around a foot and a half to 2 feet, and the suction cups being 6, 8 inches in
Hmm.
diameter. I guess one of those should be very, very sufficient. They're not super duper cheap. Um,
Hmm.
but I mean, this could also be something that could be a benefit to think about in the staking model. Maybe some higher end accessories that are in the fleet that not everyone needs, maybe most people don't need, but are available for specialized rigs. That is a real thing. So I'd go back to the Tesla owner and say, yeah, probably could do it. But it's going to be a relatively big thing. It's going to create some additional wind noise above and beyond the wind noise created by the light cone, just because it's more like a ski rack size type of thing. But there
Mm.
are they are out there, and I've noticed some of the guys in the really high end of the market that do this mobile mapping and road scanning stuff do use suction cup mounts, but they're big. They're not. It's not like your dashboard suction cup mount for your phone. I mean, the device is modestly heavy, and you drive at high speeds and you want to be safe.
Yeah, I think safety is our biggest concern and why we have yet to create it as well. One thing that I do want to note from my own personal experience is that my brother does have a top mount suction cup for his bike. And then so he puts three different suction cups at different points, and then he can mount his bike on top, and then he'll drive on the freeway with that, which is concerning to me, but
Yeah,
he
I think the
says, and the company
stuff
says it's
is
good.
super strong, but also with those suction cups, you gotta install them right.
Yeah.
It's like
Hmm.
they have the strength. They've been wind tunnel tested, and yeah, the bike one's a great example. But if your brother was lazy one day and didn't really get them on there correctly, it could be quite interesting. It reminds me of a time I was we cut a Christmas tree at one of these Christmas tree farms here in Northern California, and I slashed it up and on top of our minivan to drive it home with the kids, and I didn't attach it tightly enough. I lost the Christmas tree on Highway
Oh
17.
God, that's
And
wild.
everyone in the car, everyone was like, "Oh man, I got a lot of hate for that."
Oh, I bet. Wow. If you have any photos or videos,
Oh.
please do end up sharing that with us. Oh, nice. Gary, anything you want to add?
Uh, no, I think it's very clear, and the safety is the most the important thing. Yeah.
Yeah.
So please continue. Yeah.
Nice. Okay. The next question is, I'm guessing the current price is due to the cost of the high quality components. Are there ongoing efforts to get the cost down? I'm currently a GeoDNet user in Eugene, moved from LA a few years ago.
Yeah, yeah, yes, of course we have the plan to cost the cut the cost. Because we are using the auto grid components and the parts of the LC. So that's a very high level of the quality, and but our purchase quantity is not so many, and so sometimes we must pay more to our the provide the suppliers about the especially the LiDAR camera. But I think in the future, if we produce more LC, we can cut the price, yeah, significantly. But it's in the future, and that depends. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
yeah,
Nice.
General
okay,
trends are in the right direction, but there's also a lot of inflation going on, a lot of other costs. But in theory, the cost of these LiDAR sensors is coming down rapidly, just kind of offset by all the other challenges going on. And as I
yes,
said, our volumes aren't super high, but this is
mm,
what I come back to. This is why robotics is having its moment right now. You have infrastructure networks like GeoDNet and ROVR building out the data and services necessary for them, and you have cost of components coming down. So when people say, "Hey, I can build a humanoid for a bomb cost of 20 grand," I mean that's real. That's actually not at all science fiction. That's a very doable thing. You can sell even a humanoid. I mean, the Unitree G1 retail price for a basic G1 is 16 grand, and you obviously see these more toy-oriented humanoids even cheaper. So stuff is all coming together to be very affordable, and as the volume ramps across the industry, in terms of autonomous cars and robotics, costs will continue to come down. That's just been the history of technology. And so, yeah, for sure.
Hmm. Yeah, as it becomes more and more accessible, I imagine the price goes down as well. So let's go through two more questions out of respect for everyone's time. And then let's do this one first. Do you have a maximum number of light cones you would like to see deployed?
Oh, I think that depends the requirement of our data customers. And sometimes the some important areas like the urban areas and our customers need the more LC to collect the data, and we will deploy more. So that depends. And but right now we have I think we have 154 online, but we will put more, maybe 200 or 300, and but after that, that depends on the requirement from our customers. Yeah.
Yeah, I'd
Hmm.
like to add 2 points to that. I think it's a fantastic question, first of all. And one point I'd say is the fleet size as we get up to 200 light cones as will already be on par with the largest kind of HD mapping type of fleets that are out there. So that's a huge, accomplishment for the rover community in a short period of time, to sort of bring up a higher end scanning device, get it out to the community, and get up to a fleet size that's comparable to the largest fleets in the Web 2 space. So that's pretty cool. Second point I wanted to make is that the whole point of the staking model is kind of this observation of the challenge and deep end of balancing supply and demand. And obviously, if the demand starts to grow in a certain area, we want to get more devices into that, and it could go exponential in an area. Who knows? But the idea is that a model that's kind of where you can have as many devices out there as you want, and something like I don't mean this in any way to pick on HiMapper, but I think that it's one to at least think about, like what they've done, because we're all in this deep in world together. Like how did their model work, and what are some of the challenges? I think a classic kind of case of some areas maybe have too much supply and not enough demand, and some areas have too much demand and not enough supply, make it hard to grow. So keeping those two in balance is so critical for any marketplace-based business. Same as Uber. Go back to this analogy over and over again. Like if Uber had a whole bunch of drivers and no riders, then it would break. If Uber has a whole bunch of people that want to get to the airport and no drivers, that's also, I mean, people miss their flights. It's a horrible experience. You have to, as a network business, kind of keep supply and demand in check, grow supply a little bit, grow demand, grow supply a little bit, grow demand. Supply always needs to be ahead of demand because, again, think of the Uber analogy. If you had 100 people who need to get to the airport in the morning and there's no drivers to do that, A, you don't get any revenue, and B, you end up with a bunch of pissed off customers. So I think it's crucial that supply is always edging out demand, but it can't be 3 years ahead of demand. And that's where you get into these situations, especially with Web3, where patience levels are very low, and people, another analogy I've come to is like 1 year in Web3 is 100 years in Web 2. So the cycles, and this year in particular, I mean, just the sort of crazy ass cycles around narrative and things are so fast paced. It's very important to keep the supply and demand kind of in check with each other. So Gary's answer is exactly right. Totally a function of demand. We will keep edging ahead, trying to be ahead of our customers and thinking being one step ahead of them, but we don't want to be a mile ahead of them either.
Mhm. Yeah,
Yeah.
those are good. Yeah, thanks for that input. And then the last question we want to hit, and irrespective of our times, again, if we didn't get to your question, please do ask on X, on Discord, on Telegram, wherever have you. Would be happy to answer there, and happy to have you here. We are going to have another AMA next week, same time, 8 a.m. PST. But before we get into any more details on that, here's the last question. So, in an effort to scale at a faster rate, offer the purchase of the device for X and offer a revenue share whereby a percentage of the earned tokens go back to Rover to defray the cost. What are our thoughts on that?
Complicated, probably.
Yeah, yeah,
Complicated.
yeah. I think we can take a look of this solution, but I think it's a yeah it's complicated. Yeah. So uh,
Okay. It looks like we need a little bit more time to think on that
I
one.
mean,
Derek,
the
what do you think about
complication
it?
comes from you have multiple different data customers that have different data needs and different
Hmm.
geographies. They want you to be ahead of them. Hey, we want to have supply in areas we don't have revenue because we know we need to have it for something, say, 6 months down the road that a customer's told us about, but they're not, haven't launched a project. It's just I think the model of using, I mean, really the role of blockchain and deepen is it's a lot like DeFi. It's creating this sort of marketplace to, um, in a decentralized way, connect supply and demand, but in a way that's not highly prescriptive. So you have the buyback and burn mechanism as a general mechanism to support. I think you could get all kind of weird corner cases, and you would have, I think, mispositioned assets a lot of the time, and then people fighting over assets. I don't know. My overall view, there's a lot of what maybe the Web3 community doesn't appreciate is that Web2 customers have a lot of their own requirements and things that are going on that we have to impedance match. And just having kind of a general pool of data, like the open data set, is a really good tool to do that because you've just taken some subset of the data and just put it out and said, hey, try it, and given a fairly generous, license for them to make evaluation of the data as they need fit. That is super helpful to moving on to the next step. And that's kind of at a broader scale, the whole network is like that. It's a pool of resources that can be allocated. If I just think it would be complicated to try to do a revenue share down to the device level and be at that level, if you want to really participate in that, sort of like go apply for a job at Waymo, right? I mean, that's kind of the ultimate level of if I really want to be in the revenue share directly with a thing. At least that's my initial thought. We'll talk about it more. I mean, maybe I'm missing something on it, but that's kind of my initial take.
Wow, that was a great initial take. I thought we were going to need more time on that. Yeah. Okay. And without further ado, again, if we didn't get to your questions, please do ask on X, Discord, Telegram, what have you. Happy to answer and give our effort there. We are going to have another AMA next week, same time, 8 a.m. PST. But we will not have one on Thanksgiving week, which is 2 weeks from now. Okay, we'll make an announcement about that as well. I hope you all stay well, stay healthy. Good morning, good night to you all. Can we get away from our panelists, Mike, Gary?
Sounds good, man. Good to see everybody.
Good
See
Cheers.
you.
to see
Have a good
you.
day. Have a good night. Goodbye, y'all.
Cheers. Bye.